Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in on you. Hope everybody is having a great week. For those of you celebrating Kwanzaa, celebrating the holiday season, spending time with family and loved ones, I wish you the best. I hope that you are enjoying yourself. For those of you who are preparing for this transition into a new year and you are intent on entering into 2022 on a positive note with power, with force, with momentum, I encourage you. I hope that this video inspires you. And I am looking forward to sharing with you some things over the next couple of days that will hopefully give you something of an instrument and tools that you can use to move forward. Someone asked me, inquired about my 30-day transformation course, which is 30 days, which includes 4 sessions with yours truly, and some work. There's some required work. And the question is, can a person really change the trajectory of their lives? Can they really change where they are in life, where they're headed in life? Can they do that in 30 days? Come on, Doc. Come on, 30 days. You got people who have been doing something a certain way for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, their entire life, and you telling me that you can change that in 30 days? The simple answer to the question is absolutely. I've been doing it for years. I did it first with myself. This isn't some new age idea that I came across. This is years and years of work of honing my skills in the area of psychology, neuro-linguistic programming, neurosociative conditioning, and so much more, psycho-cybernetics, and so much more. But it all began with me looking at who I was and determining that that was something I was going to do to change. And then I really looked into all these things. Visionetics is something I created that is at the beginning of instantaneous implementation of certain principles that create immediate results. Now, this doesn't mean you go from being broke to being a millionaire, from being in a divorce court to a solid marriage. It means that it changes the trajectory. It changes your mindset. It changes the viewpoint. It changes the perspective. It puts you on a course immediately to change. I shared something yesterday that is a big part of that. I shared that one of the first things you got to do is you got to surround yourself with someone who is more successful than you. You've got to find someone who has a high level of competency, a high level of expertise, a high level of experience, a high level of positivity. And you need to cultivate a relationship with that person. On the other side, you need to remove the most negative person in your life. You need to cut off that person. And the hard part about this, when I get with clients, the hard part about that is that the vast majority of these people are going to be people you've known for a long time, people you may be blood relatives with, people you may have lifelong friendships with. But if the phone rings and you look at your caller ID and you immediately lose energy because you know you're about to enter into a world of negativity, that negativity is draining you. This is an energy game, and how you play the energy game is going to have a massive impact on where you end up at. But let's get back to the original question. Can you change your life in 30 days? First of all, you have to define what change means. If you mean, like I said, if you mean go from being a person with a negative bank account to being a millionaire, can you change it in 30 days? Is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? No. But what you can change is your thinking. What you can change are some very powerful and important practices and habits. When you wake up, what you do during the day, how much you read, a bunch of other things that I go over with clients. But the biggest thing is going to be how you see yourself. Do you realize that one of the greatest inhibitors to change and positive progression in life are the limitations we see in this world as it pertains to us? what we think we are capable of in this world, what we think we can or cannot do based on past experiences, based on the assessments of other people, based on so many other things. And what we do is we buy into these limiting beliefs. And when we buy into these limiting beliefs, we begin to operate based on our belief. Our beliefs govern our lives. Our belief anchors our subconscious. Our subconscious operates off of our beliefs. So if I'm believing that I will never be able to do something, what are the chances I'm practicing the principles, behaviors, and actions and thought patterns and speech that are conducive to achieving this thing that I already believe I don't? You're not. You're not practicing. Matter of fact, your self-talk is probably going to reflect the fact that you don't believe it. It's going to reflect the fact that you have already accepted the limitations that will restrict you from ever living in that life, to ever achieving that. That's the thing that you have to understand. Yes, I do this on a regular basis. I work with people, and in as little as 30 days, I can get them to change the trajectory of their lives. Now, most of my clients are on a 52-week program. Why? Because they have these goals that are like totally out of the stratosphere of what most people are hoping and wishing for or talking about actually doing. And so what we do is we get the 30 days out of the way, we change it. So even if you come and you sign up for my platinum package, that's 52 weeks of working with yours truly and sitting down and really doing a bunch of different things that evaluate, that change, that measure where you are and where you're going. That first 30 days is about rapid change. It's about changing the way you think and changing your behavior. Look, you can't roll out of bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock and think you're going to be ahead of the game. You can't sit up and have negative conversations with yourself about yourself and think you're going to be ahead of the game. You can't sit up and hit that snooze button over and over again. You can't sit up and wake up with a negative attitude, looking for everything that's wrong in your life and think that you're going to have a productive day. So those are the things we deal with first. We're dealing with the first 30 days of literally creating new habits of thought, new habits of behavior, new habits of perspective. And with that, things change. They say perception is reality, but most people don't understand how. People say, no, reality is reality. No, facts are a part of reality. But perception is the predominant force in reality. Why? Because perception tells you how to interpret the facts. That's why you can have two people dealing with the exact same situation and have two different outcomes, two different state of minds. One is sitting over there looking at the same problem and they're going like, oh my God, this is horrible. And the other one is sitting over there and sitting up going, man, this is going to be a great challenge. Why? Two different perceptions. There's an old saying, and I cannot remember it verbatim, but it says, two prisoners stared out the prison, stared out of prison bars. One saw mud, one saw stars. And what's the difference? One was looking down, one was looking up. Perception. And so those are the things you work on. Those are the things that we do. But here's the thing. It started with me. It started with me a long time ago. Now, granted, I had these unbelievable people in my life that from as early as 2 years old were telling me I can do things that average people don't do. They were showing me that there was something special and exceptional about me. What they were simply doing is identifying the gift, the talent, this thing that was inherent in me, and they were amplifying it. And they were giving it power, and they were letting me know to sink into this, find your space in this. This is where you shine. This is where you go. And it started early, but there were still these perceptions. There were still these perceptions in my mind because I grew up in an impoverished community. While we were not necessarily dirt poor by any stretch of the imagination, we weren't wealthy. We didn't have what you would look at today and say wealth, but we, got our bills paid. We were able to get a new car, periodically, and none of the things that other people were struggling with, like having their utilities turned off, things of that nature, were we struggling with. We always had food on the table. Never had a starving day in my life as a child. Once my grandparents took me and adopted me. Now, up until 9 months old, that's a whole different story. Not here to get into that, but the thing is, those people poured into me. But what I did is I saw poverty all around me. I never saw abundance. I saw being able to manage, which was my household, where we were considered one of the well-to-do people in the community, in the neighborhood, but I didn't see abundance. And then when I got around abundance, because of simple statistical realities, I found out or saw that people who look like me don't tend to have that. And so I developed uh, a poor mindset or a poor belief, an internal belief that because I'm black, I can't win. Now, I'll do better than most black people. Now, this is still in middle school. I'll do better than most black people because I have this gift, but they have an advantage. And this isn't a race thing, but this is about internal beliefs, because no matter what race you are, you have some internal beliefs that you're going to have to get over if you're going to do something exceptional and extraordinary, because you've adopted. If you're operating in mediocrity, if you're operating in average, if you're operating in the sphere where most people are operating, you're operating on beliefs that keep you there. And so you're going to have to break through. It just so happened a bunch of my limiting beliefs focused and centered on race and where you come from, because I come from people who had never did certain things. There's no way that but I had to break through that. But what happens is when you get to an adult phase, and I decided, you know what, I'm not going to let this be my lot in life. I love my grandparents. I love my family, but I am not going to be trapped into a life of just making sure nothing goes wrong and I'm okay. That was not acceptable to me. So I immediately started to look for something. And what did I do? Exactly what I told you earlier. I found someone who was more competent than me, more experienced than me, who had a positive mindset, who saw something in me. So that was a dynamic of reciprocity. I wasn't just begging somebody to be in their space. I brought some livelihood and a new viewpoint to their lives. So that was something we were sharing with one another and giving to one another that made the relationship work. This became my business mentor. But he taught me some things immediately that within the literally first few weeks changed my life. The first thing he said to me was, the only limits you're going to have are the ones you accept. You shake free of those limits. You shake free of the boundaries and the restrictions that come with those limits, and you start to experience life differently. And so my goal was to sit up and to figure out how to do that. What I found out is that I can control even anchored beliefs that have been there for the entire time my entire conscious memory. I could literally change those by simply using what we now know to be neuroplasticity. What does that mean? I can create new ideas. And through those new ideas, if I nurture those new ideas that are in opposition of old ideas, eventually the old ideas, which have neural pathways to all categories associated with it, will begin to atrophy. The new ideas, which will create new neurosynaptic connections to those same categories, will become the predominant force and eventually create an anchored belief that I now subconsciously operate by. How do I do that? My self-talk, monitoring my self-talk, literally forcefully speaking what I hold to be true about myself despite my current reality. So when I talk, and I'm talking about things like, for instance, I'm looking at my board right now, and I end my morning prayer and motivation with a statement that says, I am committed to excellence. I am adequately sufficient to meet every challenge. I am abundant, wealthy, debt-free, powerful, relentless, and dominant. I create, generate, elevate, gravitate, and dominate. And that's how I end. And there are very few things in there now that doesn't exist. I'm under 100,000 in absolute complete debt. So I'm literally about to balance out on my net worth spectrum, but everything else in there, I've actually conquered. There's a part of an element, absolute move, but I speak it all as if it is already true. Why? Because my subconscious does not have the ability to determine what is being imagined and what is real. That's why you can have fear about something that doesn't exist, and it can totally paralyze you, because the imagination can't determine. That's just your imagination. You're just making it up. You're just over exaggerating. Your imagination is going, oh man, we're about to have this happen. My life is about to fall apart. This is about to. And so now you created a whirlwind of negativity, and then it is exacerbated by the negative people you have around you. So you have to change those things. Those things can begin to change in one day. You got to start changing it. You got to start speaking it. You got to change your body posture. You got to hold your head up. There are a bunch of things that we go through in a 30-day period that literally gives you a completely different position in life in 30 days. You're not the same person in 30 days. And that should be your goal anyway. You should wake up every morning and go, you know what? I've got to find a way to be better today than I was yesterday. I can't go to bed the same person that woke up. That was a wasted day. That's what I call 0 days. When you go to bed and you didn't gain any ground, you didn't do anything. Now, you may take some bumps and some bruises. You may even have setbacks. That's not what I'm talking about. Did you go to bed a better person? And the best way to me to become a better person that no one can stop me from doing is to learn something new, is to be more aware, more knowledgeable, more prepared than I was the day before. I've grown. I've grown, not only grown, but I've grown intentionally, deliberately. I've literally chosen the direction I'm going to grow because I'm going to choose what I'm going to learn, and it's going to advance me. It's going to make me better. And so that's the first thing. So then what I decided is, man, this is powerful. And now I'm in this world of human behavior, psychology, performance psychology, uh, uh, trauma, traumatic healing, and things of that nature. Those are the areas I decided to get in. But I said, how can I take what I just experienced and create it? So I came up with Visionetics. Visionetics is the vehicle through which I help people change their lives. And there are the short term principles of execution. And then there are the longer term vehicles of execution. But it's all beginning with the process of thought, the process of how I see myself. And so then what I decided is I'm going to use it. And so then I began to use it with people. I had a person come to me and I would listen to them. Be careful of your self-talk. Listen to your self-talk. If you want to understand what's going on in your life, why certain things are happening, listen to your self-talk. Your self-talk is a reflection of the beliefs that you have about yourself, and it will be reflected in your conversations. I remember a time when I was going through a rough patch in my late 20s. I had a lot of success early on, but I was starting to experience some difficulty. It was right after losing my great-grandfather, which is my adopted father. And I couldn't get it. I couldn't figure it out. Deals were falling apart. Things weren't going well. And I'm going like, what in the hell is happening? So I called my mentor to have a conversation with him over the phone. And within 20 minutes or so, you probably heard me say this before, talk about this. But in about 20 minutes or so, he stopped me and said, hey, I can already tell you what's going on. It's your self-talk. I said, what are you talking? He says, in this 20 minutes that we've been on the phone, at least 3 or 4 times I've heard you say, I can't win for losing. Your subconscious hears you say that. Your subconscious uploads your self-talk and operates it as a part of the software that runs your brain. You're literally preparing yourself to lose when you sit up and say, I can't win for losing. Your behavior is a reflection of that belief. That's how your subconscious works. Your subconscious controls 96% of your behavior. So so what I do? I started to say, I'm winning. I'm a winner. Not I'm going to win, because then I'm going to win creates an indefinite window of when it's going to happen. I'm winning. I'm winning. I got this. I'm winning. So even when something didn't happen, I'm saying I'm winning. It's just a part of the process. It's the first step. It's not final. See, failure isn't final until you quit. You learn through your failure. You say, what can I learn from that? What did I do that I shouldn't have done? Okay, let's do this. But I changed my conversation. And literally within a matter of 10 to 12 days, first deal that I had been struggling with closed. Now, I had a person come to me, one of my clients, and what she was telling me is, I have learning disability. I'm struggling intellectually. I'm intellectually challenged. A bunch of different things that she would say about herself. Now, in talking with her and observing her, I knew that wasn't the case, but I had to find out where it was coming from. And it didn't take long to find out where it's coming from. I'm not going to get into it too much because, again, I'm talking about real cases and I don't want to feel people like I'm throwing that stuff out there, but I just want to get some things out there. So what do? We just changed the conversation that she's having with herself. No, absolutely not intellectually challenged, absolutely not learning disabled, absolutely not on the low spectrum. Look, you are exceptional. You are extraordinary. You may not learn in the same way someone else does, but you have a capacity to learn. So you stop saying that, saying I'm remarkably intelligent. I am remarkably emotionally and intellectually sufficient efficient, and productive. You start to say these things, not just periodically, you say them to yourself. And when you're not overtly and audibly saying them, say them in your mind, think them, let your mind hear it, let your mind recycle it. What happens? Your mind cannot resist what you push upon it. That's why you got to be careful what you allow your kids to listen to. That's why you got to be careful what you allow your kids to watch. That's why you cannot allow devices to rear your kids. Why? Because what you hear predominantly, what you see predominantly will become the program that you run in this supercomputer you call your brain and in the processor you call your mind. You control what you're running. My job in 30 days is to give you the program that's going to get you as far as you possibly can, as quick as you possibly can. It's to sit up and see what you're inhibiting limitations are. What are you putting into your world through your thoughts, through your speech, through your behaviors that are applied limitations that you've accepted, that you're now operating in, that you're now frustrated by, and that you now believe will never change? Let's find them. Let's get rid of them. Let's eradicate them. And that can be done in 30 days or less. It absolutely can. I do it on a regular basis. I had another person came in that had an unbelievable eye for decorating, a beautiful eye for decorating, going through a difficult time in their particular situation, in their career, in their finances, in a bunch of situations, had other people taking advantage of them because they were in a position of need. And we sit down and we say, hey, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to look at the situation. First of all, we're going to change our self-talk. So powerful. Look at this. Your brain is the supercomputer, the most powerful supercomputer on the planet. There's not a computer on this planet that can process information and data as quick as your brain. You simply haven't learned how to use it yet. But the brain can process over 400 billion bits of information per second on a subconscious level. It sees and hears everything that is in your periphery or in a distant ancillary place in your surroundings. It doesn't miss anything. If you scan by it, your conscious didn't see it, but your subconscious did. It picks up everything. Again, this is why you've got to guard your gates. This is why you got to control what's going in. What do you listen to? It's powerful. And another thing that you can do, is you have to understand that there are different states in which you have different brainwave activity. You've got beta, where you're totally alive and conscious. That's the time when you're conscious, which will embody all your limiting beliefs, is predominantly in control. It's hard to get things through the into the subconscious through the beta state, but it can be done. It's done through repetition. You just keep saying it, even though your conscious is going, dude, you're not debt free. Do you realize that when I first start saying that I was debt free, remember I just read that after I am committed to excellence. I am adequately sufficient to meet every challenge. I am abundant, wealthy, debt free, powerful, relentless, and dominant. When I first started saying that, debt free wasn't a truth. And there's still a little debt, but I mean literally way less than $100,000. But when I first started, it was way more than that. But I just kept saying it. What happens? You start to behave like it. You start to move like it. You start to think like it. When you say I'm wealthy, you start to behave like you're wealthy. You start to make decisions that wealthy people make. You start to handle your money different. You start to look at money making opportunities different. You start to be willing to invest in yourself instead of waiting on someone to give you an opportunity. It's a whole lot of things that just happen that simply by establishing a mindset and an identity about yourself that is conducive to producing the reality that you're talking about. So the first thing that you have to overcome are these internal limiting beliefs about yourself. The next thing that you have to overcome are these external beliefs about things that will stop you. With Black people, one of the first things that we think about is racism. Nobody's going to give me an opportunity. If you come from an impoverished background, regardless of race, you're thinking rich people are going to always hold me down. I'm never going to have an opportunity because they're not going to give me a chance. And there are all these other beliefs that are an embodiment of your true reality. They are the driving force of your reality. What do you have to do? You have to change how you view that. The truth of the matter is, yes, racism exists, but can I thrive in a world where there are literally things set in place to stop me? It was proven before I got here. I've proven it since I've been here, and I've trained and taught numerous other people in the same position to get past it. There are things, and now we're in a world where you can definitely do it, because you can operate in this world and generate a life for yourself in anonymity, meaning that you can literally go online, create a brand that does not present you, if that's what you want to do. About 5 of my companies have me as the face of the company. There are literally 12 other entities that I operate and run that produce revenue that nobody will ever know who the owner is. Those produce revenue solely based on what services they provide. And it doesn't have anything directly to do with me. So they never have to interact with me. They never know. So you can't tell me that that can stop you now, because now you can operate in anonymity. You can go out and you can create things. That's just one element, a component of the things that are out there. But you can sit up and think of 100 different ways that you can overcome the things you're facing, because it's been done before. Now, the thing is, you have to start to say it. You have to start to believe it. You have to stop looking for the problem and start looking for the solution. The one thing that I do every day, the one thing that I demand of my clients is, we're not going to wake up with the weight of the world on our shoulders. We'll take on that burden later in the day. But what we're going to wake up with is a mindset of gratitude. We're going to wake up with a mindset of thanksgiving. We're going to wake up with, man, it's great to be alive. Watch me go out in this world and do something exceptional. Watch me go out in this world and do something extraordinary. Watch me go out in this world and make something awesome happen. And then we're going to go out and we're going to do it. Now, the thing is, we already understand that we live in a real world. So saying it isn't going to mean that there are not going to be obstacles. But the difference in someone who understands the power they have within them and the person who doesn't is, when the person who doesn't encounters an obstacle, they see it as a problem, and they immediately start to give the power. How do you give a problem power? By worrying about the outcome that the problem creates, instead of looking for the solution and taking action. The moment you start to take action in any situation, no matter how hostile, no matter how dangerous, you automatically assume a certain level of power. What I can tell you, like I said, one of the areas I hold a high level of expertise is in traumatic healing. I help people deal with trauma in their past. It's one of the things I do. One thing I can tell you is, while people will encounter traumatic experiences during their life, not everybody's traumatized by trauma. And people say, well, how is that? Because there are a lot of different components and elements at play that determine whether you are traumatized, where you're at in your life, how many traumas have you experienced without dealing with healing when you encounter that trauma. But more importantly, how do you respond in the middle of the trauma? What we know is, in a situation, a traumatic experience, let's take an active shooter. In a situation with an active shooter, that's an extremely traumatic experience. Most people will leave that experience in some way traumatized. The few people who don't are the people who actually decided to take action during the shooting, not the ones that are hiding. And I'm not saying hiding is the wrong thing. You do what you got to do to try to feel safe. But the person that says, I'm going to do something about it, I'm going to help these people get out this window. I'm going to get out of the window. Or, the most boldest of all, I'm going to go tackle the shooter. That person, if they survive, will less likely be. Why? Because they assumed a level of power. They were not helpless. They were not hopeless during a traumatic experience. They took some ownership into changing the situation. Anytime that you move into a situation and you take ownership into changing it, it will have a less of an impact on you, and you will immediately assume a level of power that you will be able to execute throughout the situation. Your goal when you run into a challenge is to look for the solution. The solution always exists. There's no problem that you're going to face, no challenge you're going to face, no obstacle you're going to encounter in which there's not a solution. You have to simply remain calm enough and believe enough in yourself and believe enough in the opportunity and your destiny and your purpose, and that you believe that you will overcome it, and you will start to believe and take action. What you believe is going to have a massive impact on the actions you take, on the words you speak. And so you're going to have to master your beliefs. Finally, after you get through with that, you have to understand that consistency is the key to creating habitual behavior. Now, most of the time when you hear people talk about habits, you think negative. But no, there are good habits and bad habits. There are positive habits, there are negative habits. How you establish and build your habit tree is going to determine how well you do in life. Are you practicing good habits? See, people who are very successful at business have a certain type of habits. You can find the top 50 people in business, and you're going to find that they have a lot of intersecting beliefs and habits that they practice. Normally, they're going to get up earlier than most people. Normally, they're going to be avid readers. They're going to be people who are always looking to learn. They're going to be people who are always looking to serve. There's going to be a combination of things that you're going to be able to see in their life, regardless of what they're doing. There's going to be these practices. So then success leaves clues, success leaves patterns. Look at the patterns, you start to practice, but you have to create the habit. You create a habit of getting up at 5 instead of 8. You create a habit of speaking positive even when you're looking at negative situations. People ask me all the time, man, how are you at where you at right now? And I see what you're looking at, and you have a smile on your face. You're not frenetic, you're not unglued, you're not acting as if the world is falling apart. And I'm looking at it, this thing can literally be devastating, and you're sitting there so calm. Why? I said, because there's a level of existence beyond the momentary reality that I live in. I've lived long enough, and I've gone through enough, I've overcome enough that I realize that where I'm at now, I'm not going to be there forever. If I am alive, I'm moving. I'm never going to sit still. I'm never going to wallow in anything long enough to give it power in my life. Well, what does that mean? That means that I am operating in the moment, but I'm living in the future. I'm seeing what coming out of the moment looks like. And if I can see it with great vividness, if I can see it with great clarity, not only can I see what it looks like, I literally begin to emotionally experience it. And now I can feel what it looks like. And the smile you see on my face is not a pretension or denial about what's going on. It's an expression of reality of what it looks like to come out of it. I've already broken through it in my mind and in the spirit realm before I've done it in the physical realm. I've learned how to manifest into things. I've learned how to manifest out of things. I learned that I am never caught in something there. I see the circumstance. I'm not crazy. I see the circumstance, but there's something in my spirit that simply disagrees with the circumstance. I'm telling you that you can change your life in 30 days. No, I'm not saying it's easy. It's going to take commitment. It's going to take a force of commitment and will to sit up and say, I'm going to wake up every day and I'm going to do this. I'm going to wake up every day and I'm going to do that. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to talk to Dr. Wallace. I'm going to figure out what's going on with me that I need to change. I'm going to be committed to it. I'm going to follow the program, and I'm going to come out of this 30 days. I'm going to come out of this in beast mode, and I'm never going to look back. I'm never going to stop. Yes, I'm going to run into challenges. Yes, I'm going to have some difficult moments, but I'm never going to look back. I'm never going to give up. I'm never going to quit. I'm never going to stop. I'm about to take what this man is offering me, and I'm about to run with it. So to answer the question, to the person that contacted me in a strong state of disbelief, saying, is it really possible to change your life in 30 days? And the answer is, not only is it possible, I've done it, and the people that I've worked with have done it and continue to do it. It is possible, and it's absolutely necessary if you ever expect to experience anything other than what you've experienced. You cannot consistently stay in the same state of mind and expect to produce anything different, because everything begins with your mind. Your thoughts are literally the seeds of your destiny. And if you don't learn how to manage that, if you don't learn how to manifest new thoughts, new ideas, new beliefs, if you don't know how to create paradigm shifts within your life, you're going to get stuck in places that you're not happy with, stuck in places that you're not. Here's the thing. What happens is when you believe you're stuck, you begin to, at the very least, tolerate your reality. The problem is when you tolerate things, you eventually begin to accept them. They eventually become an accepted part of your reality. So you have to constantly raise your standards. How do you raise your standards? The same process. Change your thoughts, change your speech, change your perspective, change the way you wake up, change when you wake up, so many different things. It's about taking control of the situation. What I've shared with you is literally the simple process of what goes on in my 30-day transformation course. And I answered the question, I think, with enough specificity that people who are really serious about making change can understand it. Absolutely, you can change your life in 30 days. I changed mine, and I consistently find things that need to change. And I go through the same 30-day process that I take my clients to. When I look up and say, you know what, the reason this is happening is because I'm holding this belief. I'm honest with myself. I also have someone that I see that I sit down and share with, because you can't live life in a vacuum. You can't sit up and think you know it all. So I have people that I consult with. And they're like, hey, you know what? You ever thought about trying this? Or have you ever thought about the fact that you've been doing this way for so long that it may be actually stopping you from moving to the next level? Have you given any consideration into what your next move is going to be? And I'm like, wait, you know what? And then it said, I got to change that. The thing is, I've done it so much. It's just like turning on a light switch. I'm going to change it. And the thing is, what I love about the way I teach is I don't teach for dependency. And people say, what does that mean? Well, there are some physical trainers did that. One of the first companies I ever started was a physical training company. It's still in existence. It was Stay Fit Fitness and Training. It's now Master Fitness 21. Check out the site. But some fitness instructors do this. Some life coaches do this. Some business consultants do this. And what is this that I'm speaking of? It is they come in and they give you what you need to change, but they never teach you what you're doing and why you're doing it. So you're always dependent upon them anytime you need to move to the next level, anytime you need to get a certain outcome, a certain result. You have to come to them. I'm different. I teach you what you're doing, why you're doing it. So at a certain point, you take it and run with it. It becomes your tool for life. And that's what I do. I teach for independence. I teach because I want you to go out and teach people. I want you to go out and change lives. Whether this is going to be what you do, like this is my purpose. What I do is my purpose. But whether it's your purpose or not, you're going to impact people. I like to infect lives as much as I affect them. And people say, what does that mean? I want to infect you with my passion. I want to infect you with my faith. I want to infect you with my high level of expectation. I want to affect you with my high level of optimism and the belief that anything is possible. I want to affect you with the idea that if there's something in front of me, there's a way to overcome it. And then I want you to go out and I want you to infect other people. So when I infect you, affecting you is great. But when I infect you, I not only help you with your problem, I now pass on the contagiousness of what I gave you so that you pass it on. And in that way, I change lives of people I will never meet, who would never probably even hear my name. And I'm okay with that because that changes the world. That leaves something behind. That leaves something that in some instances, my progeny, my grandchildren and great-grandchildren and their grandchildren and great-grandchildren will reap the benefits of because I planted the seeds. That's the power of what you're capable of doing when you decide that you're not going to stay where you're at. So for those of you who want to go strong, you got a couple of days. Those of you who want to go strong and you were wondering, how can that possibly be? I just showed you. You can change your life in 30 days. I mean, drastically shift where you're at, where you're doing, where you're headed, where you're going, how you're experiencing life in 30 days. I showed you a number of different ways that it can be done. I told you about how I've done it, how I continue to do it. If you want to change your life, you have to start somewhere. You can't keep putting it off. There's no perfect timing. There's no perfect situation. There's always going to be something in your way that's going to make it a challenge. Today is a day that you can literally sit up and take that challenge. The link is in the description box. Click that link, sign up. You will hear from the support team to set up your first consultation with me. And from that point on, we're going to take it. And in 30 days, we're going to create a program and a plan that will transcend. In other words, in 30 days, it's not over. 30 days, you simply take off. Some of you are going to decide, hey, Doc, I want to hang with you for a little while longer. And you're going to determine you want to work with me on a long-term basis. And we're going to really make some unbelievable stuff happen. That's where we're going to actually lay out the goals and go get them. But it has to start somewhere. If you're looking for change, click the link. Let's connect. Let's make 2022 the best year of your life. I don't say that in the point of euphemism. I mean, really make 2022 the best year you've ever seen. And it's possible, but it's not going to happen through osmosis and wishful thinking. You're going to have to take action. On that note, I'm out of here. You guys have an unbelievable day.